Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So finally got around to seeing an actual new movie. It just opened yesterday, hopefully by the time you're seeing this, depending on how long it takes me to edit this and put it out, but hopefully it'll be up within 24 hours of me filming this. And that film is Doctor Strange, the newest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. So what did I think of it? It's another film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. Of course it's going to be awesome. I think, honestly, the only downfall this film had compared to the others is that after a certain point in the Avengers franchise films, when they would introduce new characters, they would do their origin story as a subplot to other things that were going on in the movie, like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's, their origin story was kind of tucked into the background of Age of Ultron, and even like Winter Soldier was kind of a subplot. The origin story was the subplot of Captain America the Winter Soldier, where once Steve Rogers finds out that Bucky's still alive, then we get his backstory and his origin throughout the film, while still having the modern version fighting against Captain America and so on. Where this one differs is they've actually went back to telling a standalone origin story rather than having it subplotted into a bigger film. And as much as I like it because it's not an origin story I've seen 900 times before, so it can actually carry a whole movie on its own instead of having to be crammed into the backdrop of another movie. At the same time, it sort of hurt it a little bit because it seemed like at times they were trying to pad out the runtime when they could have gotten on to the next part a little bit quicker. But even then, like right at the time I was sitting in the theater thinking, okay, are they going to move this along anytime soon? Pretty much the second I said that, the second I started to feel that, it jumped to the next part of the film. And it ended up going fairly fast through it. Like I said, the pacing just needed to be tightened up a little bit, but not by much. It was pretty spot on. And again, like I said, it's not an origin story that most people know. It's not something that's been done 15 times already, like Spider-Man or any of those other movies that have been done over and over and over again that we already know the origin of. Superman, Batman. Like I said, it is good that it can carry a film on its own. Probably going to be the same type of thing when Black Panther and Captain Marvel come out. You know, there's going to be a heavy origin story to those. And the only thing I can say is be prepared for that, because a lot of times when somebody tries something on this grand of a scale with movies, they get to the point where they can kind of tell a character's origin story as a B plot in the larger sequel film, that when they break away and try and do a standalone film for a new character they're introducing that'll come in later, it can tend to backfire because people tend to get bored with it, like, oh, why are we watching this origin story? Just get on with the action. Be prepared for that going into these newer films, is they're going to be origin stories again. The good thing is they're not origin stories that most people know. Unless you're a comic book fan, or you've seen some of the animated films, you probably aren't going to know a lot of these origin stories, especially if you're just the standard Johnny-come-lately to the comic scene who's only into comics now because it's cool and the movies are popular and that's all you know of the comic book universe is what you've seen in the films. You'll probably be able to enjoy the film because it's an origin story for somebody you probably don't know anything about, where the hardcore comic fans are probably going to be ready to kind of skip over these origin stories and get back to more like the action-based line like Civil War, where, like I said, Spider-Man's origin story at this point in time was just shoehorned into the back end of Civil War and took up like 5 minutes of screen time total. So I can see where these next few films are going to get a mixed reaction on whether people like them or not. And again, it's just going to be solely because they're new origin films. But overall, once it actually got past the origin story and got into the actual meat of the film, the action of the film, it was a solid film. It was on par with everything else that we've gotten from the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. And if you're a fan of Doctor Strange, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Like I said, the only down part, other than it going back to the origin story format, is a very slight pacing issue in the beginning. And honestly, I can even tell you what it was. As you're following Doctor Strange and he's going through this point in his life where he's this really cocky, arrogant surgeon, and you know, he just kind of thinks he's on top of the world, he's better than everyone. And they show him doing a couple different surgery things, and by about the second or maybe third one it was, it's like, okay, can we move on with this? You know, we get it. He's this famous surgeon. I know what comes next in the story. Can we get to it? And again, that's just because I know what comes next in the story. If you didn't know what came next, you might not have felt the pacing was off. But like I said, no more did I say that. They cut to what comes next. I mean, it's probably another 2 minutes of a build-up to it, but then the next event happens, and it sets everything in motion for him to become the Doctor Strange we all know and love. So like I said, they basically probably could have cut out like one of the 3 surgery scenes, and it would have tightened up the pace a lot better and probably only shaved maybe 10 minutes off the total runtime of the movie. Maybe not even that, maybe 5. But it would have helped it move along a lot quicker. I think it would have made it that much more enjoyable for me anyway. But like I said, those of you who don't really know the origin story and are just coming into Doctor Strange for the first time, you may not even notice it. You may be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, the rest of the movie, I'm not going to tell you what happens. It plays out as the origin story of Doctor Strange. Those of you who know it, you know it. Those of you who don't, watch the movie and see. Not really a whole lot more I can say about it than that without spoiling the whole movie. So what would I give as far as a star rating? Honestly, if it hadn't been for those couple things I mentioned, which I'm not going to repeat again because I think I've repeated them 5 times in the last 10 minutes, if it wasn't for those couple things, it would have been a solid 4 for me. But because of those, I'm going to knock it down just a little bit, but not much. Like I've said 100 times before, if I did quarter stars, it would be like a 3 3/4, but since I don't, it's going to end up being a 3.5 for me. So there you have it. That's my review of Doctor Strange. If you love the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point, go check it out. It also has a nice way of explaining how Doctor Strange is going to tie back into the Avengers universe, and not just mentioning that the Avengers exist in his world, like they mentioned that he existed in the Avengers world before. By the end of the movie, you actually understand what part he's going to play in the upcoming Avengers films. So, like I said, I don't want to bump it down too much for that. But yeah, there you have it. That's my review. Like I said, if you like the other stuff from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, check it out. It fits, it matches. It's what we're used to. So, yeah, go check it out. So that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links are in the description, and until next time, we'll see you after the credits.